Well, Coach Prime, Nick Williams, and the staff, they have launched a huge offer and have locked in a huge visit with the 5-star defensive lineman Williams Nwaneri as he's set to visit Oklahoma and Colorado here in the spring. And I'm here for it. Oklahoma and Deion Sanders battle. This is the kind of thing I'm here for. But before we talk about it, please go ahead, hit that like and the subscribe button. Let me know what you all are thinking down in the comments below. Where do you think Williams Nwaneri will ultimately end up committing? So Williams Nwaneri has now locked in 2 spring visits, one with Oklahoma and one with Colorado. So we're going to talk about Colorado first because I think the favorites here are Oklahoma, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. But ultimately, with Colorado, you lock Williams Nwaneri in. You need to be able to get elite defensive linemen on campus. And with Williams Nwaneri being in Kansas City, Missouri, this is a great option for Coach Prime because you're just basically extending your arm over what is it, probably 500 or 600 miles, and you're right there in a state where they've been producing elite defensive linemen, where Oklahoma just got PJ Adebawore, and then also Caden Green came out of the 2023 class. So I really like this offer for Colorado. Now the question is Nick Williams and Deion Sanders really going to be able to go in there and sell Williams Nwaneri, a 5-star elite defensive lineman? I think 247 has them in his, or has him in their top 5. So that'll be interesting to see if Williams Nwaneri actually buys into what Coach Prime, Nick Williams, and the staff is selling them. But in terms of Oklahoma, he has his date set for March 4th. For those of you who don't know what March 4th is, that is going to be the second junior day where Oklahoma potentially has other 5-stars lined up to show up to that junior day. So you could potentially have 4 or 5 5-stars. I would expect David Stone to be there. You have Williams Nwaneri there. Micah Hudson and Kobe Black didn't make it to the last one, but they could potentially make it to the March 4th one. So, like I said, at least maybe 4 or 5 5-stars there. If Nigel Smith decides to come back, that could be potentially 6, because I think Nigel Smith is a 5-star talent. They just haven't given him that rating yet. So, yeah, this is big. Williams Nwaneri, the 6'5", 240-pound defensive lineman out of Lee Summit, Missouri, currently by Oklahoma, being recruited by Miguel Chavis, Todd Bates, and you would assume BV is a part of this at some level. Missouri has been actively recruiting him. Kevin Peoples out there. You have Oregon recruiting him. He took a visit to Tennessee with Rodney Garner and Josh Heupel. Of course, Bama's going to be in it with Freddie Roach. Why would they not? Alabama is always in the elite defensive lineman recruiting. Now, that can change throughout the process, but Alabama is usually in it at the beginning. Listen, Williams Nwaneri, he's a freak athlete. He's quick off the ball. He's got really good foot speed. He could change direction easily, which, for an edge or a defensive lineman, that's what you really want, right? And especially in the 3-4 defensive, in the 3-4 scheme, Williams Nwaneri probably fits best at a defensive end, but I definitely think, he could get on campus and you could see them definitely push him as linebacker or a defensive lineman. So when you look at the 2024 class for Oklahoma, and this is why I'm going to talk about Williams Nwaneri to Oklahoma, because if I had to pick tomorrow and you put a gun to my head, I want to say Williams Nwaneri to OU because his teammate and friend, Caden Green's here. And I believe that when you have teammates that are at the program and they can sell you on it as well, I think that's just a plus. It's a win-win situation. But, when you look at this defensive line class for Oklahoma, you're talking potentially David Stone, Williams Nwaneri, Nigel Smith. All 3 of those guys either are 5-stars or are going to be 5-stars. You're talking Zena Yumio-Azulu, which that's a huge pickup in of its own. Another guy that could potentially be a 5-star. But what a lot of people aren't talking about is Zena has a brother out there at Texas that's an offensive lineman. So who's to say that he doesn't hit the portal to come to Oklahoma to play with his friend or to play with his brother if ultimately he ends up at OU? So when you look at the defensive line options at the top, you would expect if Oklahoma can go 2 for 4, they're in a really good position. If they can go 4 for 4 and then lands the Davian Sims, who I think is a top 200 player. And then I don't know if they take anybody else outside of that. Man, you're set on the defensive line. As for Colorado, you probably are not in the position that Oklahoma is in, where you're going to be in contention for 4 or 5 stars and a really highly rated defensive lineman in the state of Oklahoma. You're probably going to be getting some of the defensive linemen, I would say, anywhere between maybe 100 to 300. I think that's going to be Colorado's sweet spot on the defensive line, but they could prove me wrong and they could go out there and land a big guy. So go ahead and let me know what you all think. Where do you guys think Williams Nwaneri will end up? Do you think he ends up at Oklahoma, Colorado, or do you think he'll end up at another program?